post-game show is the governor of the Tri-City Americans, Mr. Ron Dixon. And Mr. Dixon, first off, we haven't seen you here in the Tri-Cities Coliseum for a little bit. Welcome back. And unfortunately, the Americans took it on the chin tonight. They lost a big one, a playoff game, 8-2 to the Seattle Thunderbirds.
Well, thank you, Tony, for welcoming me back. And you're right twice. We did take it on the chin tonight.
What do you think? How do you feel that the guys are playing right now? Do you feel that after 3 consecutive games that they have really allowed Seattle to take control of them, where do you think their minds are right now?
To tell you the truth, I really don't know. They played tonight like they didn't want to win, and they succeeded in that objective. I haven't seen them play this bad in quite a while. They obviously missed their coach, and they missed their leadership, and they're playing like they need a little more than we can give them right now. But tomorrow's another night, and hopefully Cozy will be back, and we'll see if we can't make a series out of this.
Ron, I want to ask you a couple questions about what you believe and what do you think has happened here in the last couple of days, the stick-swinging ball. Were you up in Seattle when that took place?
No, I wasn't, Tony.
What is your opinion on what actually took place?
Well, I think even with journalistic license, I think it's pretty hard to convince me that our 19 guys attacked their 13,000 people. I think what happened was that it's a very intimidating building, as you might know. The fans there, some of the fans are very rowdy, to use a polite term. You know, they're very intimidating, and they don't take precautions to put some people behind the players' area, like our fans, which would give us a fighting chance to play hockey and not worry about, you know, getting something in the back. They chose not to do that, and Rick complained in the first period and called the ref over, same ref, Watson. Watson supposedly made it a complaint to the building management, and that didn't get us anywhere. Rick came back at the end of the second period, back into the dressing room. He was soaked from beer and bags of other things that looked like beer. And, you know, again, nothing was done, and finally, you know, it took the patience of Job to stand there and be hammered like that for 2.5 hours, and I guess he just lost his cool, and the guys followed their coach over the wall.
You were quoted in the print media here in the Tri-Cities. You stand behind Coach Kozubak 100%?
100%.
And the actions that were taking place there? There were some officials that were involved there. Governor Brian Shaw, the Portland Winterhawks, he was on hand. He actually had a chance to take a look. There have been numerous reviews of the tape by the league. They feel that there was an adequate amount of security there. What do you feel about that? A situation like that occurs here. I don't ever see something like that ever happening here in the Tri-Cities Coliseum.
Well, you're right. It will never happen here. We have a different kind of fans. Our fans come for fun and for the poetry of the game, and they don't come to be abusive. And we don't have liquor in our building, and I think a lot of people think that's a pretty good idea, and I'm one of them. But I have to take exception to your remark that that the league thinks that there was adequate security. They have fined Seattle, and the fine is yet to be determined, the amount, but they do not agree that the security was adequate. So, you know, that's an issue that still hasn't been resolved, and it will be resolved by noon tomorrow. I'm hopeful that Cozy will be back and behind the bench tomorrow night, and maybe it's not too late, as I say, to make a series of this. You know, it's awful darn tough to go into a building, and it's your 20 guys and they're teenagers, and you got 13,000 screaming people, even in the best of times. Never mind having 200 or 300 yahoos behind you, dumping everything on and screaming obscenities about your women folk and your parentage and et cetera, et cetera. It's pretty tough.
Ron, I'm going to switch gears here for just a moment, if I may, and ask you a question or so about what has been going on here in the Tri-Cities as far as the Tri-Cities Coliseum, the Tri-City Americans Hockey Club, your future plans with the Coliseum and the club itself, the fact that the city of Kennewick has just done a vote, has gone through several different channels, have turned down the offer that was set upon their table. Where are things lying right now?
Well, I think, you know, they're lying much where they were 6 months ago, Tony. The city has an option on the building. I think the building should be owned by the city. It's tough for private enterprise to make the kinds of decisions that a community facility needs to have made. A lot of those decisions are political decisions, and it's damn hard to keep out of hot water, you know, as we may be an example of that. But you know, we get probably 6, 8, 10 requests a week to use the facility for public purposes, everything from you know, day school tours to various charities. We try to accommodate as many of those as we can, but you know, we just think that a building, you know, we're here to play hockey. I'm here to play hockey. That's what I'm interested in. And we built the building, and because we promised we would, and I think we we kept that promise. You know, the bottom line is that I think the city should be making decisions about who uses the building, and because no matter which way we seem to decide, there's always someone, particularly in the press, who doesn't seem to think that's a very good idea. So, you know, if the city wants to do it, we're lending them the money to buy the building, and if they choose to take us up on that offer, that's wonderful. If they don't, well, you know, there's not a for sale sign in the Coliseum, that's for sure. But, you know, the city at some point will own this building. They've got an option to buy it in the contract, and I'd rather them own it sooner than later. And then we can get on with trying to put a winning product on the ice.
Okay, now, obviously, the second part to that question is the Tri-City Americans, are they involved in the sale of the Coliseum?
No, they've never been for sale, and they're not currently for sale, and as I've said repeatedly, it's not anticipated they'll be for sale. So that's the situation there. We've certainly had a lot of people that have expressed an interest in owning the team. You know, we've tried to be pretty clear and pretty consistent in saying the team's not for sale. And, you know, I say it again tonight, it's not for sale.
The CBA basketball franchise, we talked about the last time that you were down in town. The fact that Max Chambers has gone through the media route and not been able to be in touch with you. I believe it's been 7 weeks since the last time that you both have talked. What is the story there? It looks as if now that he would like to take that team to Yakima.
Well, this is the strangest guy I've ever talked to in my life. I wouldn't know him if he stepped in here and gave me a hug. He's done all his negotiating through the media. I don't know what kind of game he's playing, but when he first contacted us, he didn't contact us, he contacted the media, and we found out about him through the media. So we got his phone number from the media, and I gave him a call personally and asked him, you know, what it was he wanted to do. And, you know, he said he was just sniffing around as to what might be available, and we didn't talk about race, we didn't talk about anything except a general overview, and I told him that we'd welcome another sport in the building, being the landlord, and asked him to put something in paper that we could get some sort of an idea who he was and what his references were and who his associates were. To this day, we've never had anything from the guy in writing. We've never had a phone call, and the only time he seems to ever want to talk to us is through the media. And some guys are real good at playing the media, and I can tell you that 99.5% of what this guy seems to say is just nonsense, absolute nonsense. I spent exactly 4.5 minutes talking to him, and the issue of the use of the Coliseum and the cost of the Coliseum has never come up. I mean, he said he wanted a basketball basketball activity in the building, and we said, fine, just put something in writing that A, you've got a team, B, you know, who your associates are, and when you want to play. To this day, we've never had anything in writing from the guy. So he's playing some sort of politics. I don't know why. He doesn't really have to, because personally, I love sports, and I'd love to see basketball here.
Let's shift it back to hockey real quick. The Tri-City Americans down 3-0 now. Playing against a very good Seattle Thunderbird club, a club that has virtually dominated in every aspect of the series so far. What do you feel that the Americans have to do in the next contest tomorrow night in order to salvage a win here?
Well, I think we have to show a little leadership, Tony. I think we have to get a good game out of the guys that have got to carry the mail. Guys like Ole. I don't think Ole had a pretty good game tonight. He would probably agree with me. Stewie, you know, hasn't done much in the series. He's got to start getting going and weave some of that magic. And I think we need leadership from the 19-year-olds. I think Calvin played well tonight, and a few of the other 19-year-olds. But you know, they've got to reach down and play this game like they want to win, and they didn't do that tonight. Hopefully they can tomorrow night. You know, Rick's coming back tomorrow, and it's an emotional thing when you get involved in that kind of you know, I'm sure if Rick could take it back, he'd you know, do almost anything to take it back. But you know, the emotion when you play, this is a very emotional game. And, you know, even people who are very, very modulated get very emotional in this game. and your fans get emotional, and you don't want to let people down, and the players get very, very emotionally involved, very attached, and you know, it's an unwritten rule in this game that if you get attacked, that you circle the wagons and you defend each other. And you know, when the coach was getting attacked, it finally, you know, the tinder got drier and drier and drier and drier, and finally the spark, and it ignited into flame. So how I've been watching this now for 8 or 9 years, and I've never been able to figure out exactly, you know, what motivates young men to play a certain way on a given night. I know that a lot of it has to do with their feeling for their coach. That relationship is a really intimate one, and it's more intimate than even the relationship with their parents. And so it's an area I stay out of, or try to stay out of. And you know, I couldn't predict what's going to. We may come out and blow Seattle out by 6 goals, and we may lose by 6 goals. I just don't know what's going on in their heads right now.
Look back real quick, Ron, at the season. The season had its peaks, it has valleys. Went through every type of emotion, as you were saying. Tell me what you thought of the Tri-City Americans from the Christmas incident on to the end of the regular season.
I think they played up to what they were capable of, Tony. I think they've played some good hockey. I've seen them on the road most of their games. I think that we've got a good team. I think we've lacked some leadership, and I think we've paid a price for Rick being a rookie coach, because there are some tricks of the game that, you know, that, and putting some rowdy fans behind the bench is one of them. That can be very, very intimidating, especially if they're dumping stuff on you all game and there's nothing. You're penned into that little box. There's nowhere you can go. You can't escape, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And you know, that's something that certain organizations kind of do. Thank God we're not one of them, but it is, and it's something. If Rick had been in the league for 5 or 6 years, he'd have been able to turn his ears off, sweat his way through it, and not brought the team out on the ice until he got good security. He would have just kept those boys in the dressing room and demanded security. He didn't do that. He thought he could make his way through the game, and he didn't make it. So, you know, from Christmas, I think we played some good hockey. I think we played some entertaining hockey. I think we've given full measure for the dollars that the fans pay. I'm embarrassed tonight for the fans. I'm embarrassed for the guys. I know they're embarrassed. You know, it's pretty humiliating when, you know, a team like Seattle comes into your building and you know, beats you that bad. And you know, I'm sure they feel a lot worse about it than I do. I just wish I was 25 years younger and could skate.
All right. Ron, tomorrow night's another game. And, of course, the Tri-City Americans will bounce back, and they'll be in that one tomorrow night. So we'll see you tomorrow. I know you're going to be here for a couple of days to watch the team and be around the Tri-City area for a little bit. I appreciate you talking with us on the post-game show.
Thank you, Tony.
All right. Ron Dixon, Governor, Tri-City Americans. He's been a guest. We'll be back in just a moment. A couple of the Tri-City Americans will be up here. We'll talk with them, get their opinions on tonight's contest. Tri-City Americans drop game number 3 of the playoffs, 8-2 to the Seattle Thunderbirds. Back right after this.